I probably won't see The Undertaker ever again live again, but I just wish I could see The Undertaker wrestle again live in front of the fans. I am happy that he retired against AJ Styles. I just wish it was in front of the fans. But with COVID, I mean, like I said, the timing is perfect. And, January, I'm very happy I did it in January because COVID did not hit till March. And January, I flew from Buffalo to Hawaii, my very last state. And I'm very fortunate to get all 50 states out of the way in January. And then, of course, I was kind of like, well, okay, I got Hawaii done. But one streak that was still alive was the hockey new arena streak. Not seeing a new hockey arena because I almost got that done. I only need to see Vegas and Seattle, and then I'm done with all the hockey arenas again. And then, of course, I got to see Vegas and LA for football, and then I'm done with all the football stadiums. So Vegas is, of course, the one of the two. But once I do that, I'm done. So after that, February, I'm kind of like torn because the Sabres kind of sucked. And, like I said, I loved hockey in the 90s. I kind of grew away with it. Once I got into middle school, I'm kind of like, I'm not a hockey fan anymore. And then once I got into high school, I got back into hockey again. And, I kind of got into, like, when the Sabres were in the Cup, I was kind of like, cool, I hope we win. And I wanted to see it. And Sabres were down 3-2. I said, fuck it, we lost. And sadly, we did. We got screwed. Fucking Dallas again. But, very interesting. And, obviously, February rolls around. And I'm like, you know what? I went to my favorite city, Pittsburgh, and it's weird because, when I'm in Buffalo and Pittsburgh, it's kind of like, well, I love Buffalo for hockey and I love Pittsburgh for football. So I'm kind of like, I'm going into the Penguins arena rooting against Pittsburgh. I'm like, this is weird, but I do it in Buffalo, so I'm like, I might as well do it in Pittsburgh too. And Pittsburgh fans are not like Buffalo fans. Buffalo fans are dicks. Buffalo fans are assholes if you don't like Buffalo. Pittsburgh is not the same. Penguin fans are awesome. The Sabre fans are like, you know what? That's cool. And I've heard stories. That's the cool thing I love about Pittsburgh. However, if the tails were reversed, if the Bills have won a Super Bowl and the Steelers didn't, I'm pretty sure the Bills fans would be nice and the Steelers would be dicks. But like the Steelers, they've done it. They've already seen them win the Super Bowl. Bills fans have never done it. So I kind of get why the Bills fans are assholes and the Steelers fans aren't. But I know a lot of my people I talk to are like, I'm a Bills fan. I went to Pittsburgh. And people are like, oh, Bills fans, come over. Let's tailgate. Let's party. And that's what you need in football. I don't like the football fans. That's why I hate going to football games because football fans are assholes. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are. I know that there are many Steeler fans that are dicks, but, I hate football fans in general. That's why I love being alone when I watch football games because football fans are dicks, dude. I hate football fans because they go out there and they make a big deal of it. Football fans are like politics. You don't want to talk about it because then you're going to get into a fight. Unless you're a fan of the same team, but, But I am fortunate, and back in February, I was kind of like, I'm in Pittsburgh. I got to go to the Sabres-Penguins game. And I was happy I did because the Sabres won. So it's funny. When I've seen the Sabres play the Penguins, I've seen the Sabres and Penguins win against each other. And I was kind of like, you know what? The Penguins ruined my Winter Classic when I went to that game. I'm going to ruin theirs by going in the arena, and it did. It worked out. Sabres won. That's the reason why I hate the shootout, because it ruined my Winter Classic. I hate the shootout. So, and that's the thing, too. I know my brother's always like, we're not doing Sabres season tickets anymore. To me, that's what keeps me alive now, is because going to hockey games is the only thing that keeps me happy today. I'm not I've already announced I'm done. I'm retired from going to concerts. I'm not, I know my brothers and nephews always talk about concerts. I have no desire, now that Rush is completely done, I have no desire to go to another concert. I'm done. There's nobody I really want to see. I've done it all. So I'm done. I'm finished. So what is next for the Chris Heiden? What is next for me is I kind of want to have that second half of my life now. I want to try and, obviously with COVID going on, it's hard. I want to try and find a girl. I want to try and maybe see if maybe one of my goals come true. Maybe have my own family. I don't know. We'll see. Back 5-10 years ago, I really did want to have a kid and a wife, and now I'm kind of like too old for it, I think. And it's, I mean, I know a lot of people are like, look at Neil Peart and look at The Undertaker. They had a kid and they were like in their 40s. And as a guy, I mean, yeah, I could do it in my 40s. It's true, but it's going to be hard. And, that's why I wish I was in my 20s and not my 30s. That's why I hate my age, because, like, fuck, I wish I could be 20 again. Like, I just wish we could go back, like, but, I sadly wish we can't. I wish we could, but that's my next journey. And, wrestling to me is pretty much done, and that's how it is. Before we end off today, I do thank you for being with us. Talk about your TV shows. Let's end off with the only show that's, well, 2 shows that's currently going on. What got you into those shows, and what got you into the TV shows that you have DVDs for currently? Okay, so let's start off with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I guess. We'll start off with that. So, I loved the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as a kid, and I think that's what made me get the Turtles on DVD. I'm kind of like, man, I want to relive my childhood. And I think with The Undertaker retiring, I'm like, I think I needed something to resurrect my childhood a little bit. Because my childhood is dead now. Like, The Undertaker is done. And I'm like, fuck, everything from my childhood is complete. Like, it's over for my childhood now. And I think watching and getting the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles kind of resurrected. It kind of made me feel a little better about losing my childhood. And I think that's what made me get the Turtles on DVD. And watching the Turtles really did. I love the Turtles. The Turtles was my all-time favorite. I don't like the newer shows, but like I love the Turtles, and I loved watching the old TV shows. And it was just awesome, and I loved watching it, and that's what made me get it on DVD. So Batman, I don't know. Out of the superheroes, I love Batman. I never really got into Spider-Man or Superman, but I never really gave those 2 shows a chance. I am going to watch them. I'm going to see why Superman is so popular. I'm going to watch those movies, and then who knows? Maybe I'll have a lot more respect for Superman. I did watch the Hulk. Hulk is okay, but, yeah. So, I watched the Batman TV show, because I remember I don't know what it was. It was one of those, I don't know what they're called. It was like a slider where you could actually keep clicking and see pictures, and you're looking at through like kind of like a picture frame. I don't remember what it was called, but you'd have pictures. And I remember seeing pictures of Batman. I think that's what made me get the Batman DVD. And that's what got me into watching the Batman. So I was kind of like, you know what? Let's watch it. I have a lot of respect for Batman, and let's see how good the villains were. And it's cool because Burgess Meredith was in Rocky, one of my favorite movies. And I'm kind of like, I like Burgess Meredith. He's a Penguin. I think I'll like it. So it's cool. So I decided to get Penguin. Or, well, not Penguin, but I decided to get Batman, and, I got a lot of respect for it. Married with Children. What got me into Married with Children? There's a movie called Little Giants, and back then I was kind of like, I like the character Ed O'Neill. I like him. I don't know why. There's certain actors I like, and there's certain actors I fucking hate. Like, I won't watch a Tom Cruise movie. I'm sorry. I hate Tom Cruise. And I know people are like, oh, Chris, you did watch a Tom Cruise movie. He was in Austin Powers. Okay, yeah. He was only in it for a couple seconds. But I liked Austin Powers. But but I don't like Tom Cruise. But for whatever reason, I love that O'Neill. And I knew who Christina Applegate was. I knew a couple guest stars on the show, like Kelly Kapowski from Saved by the Bell was in it. So I was kind of like, all right, I'll give Married with Children a chance. And, watching the show, some of them are cool. Some of them are kind of like, eh. Like, some of them is just, they're in the house the whole episode and they're talking. And I'm like, come on. Some of them are good. Some of them are kind of like, eh. So, and I'm actually going to be watching that in a couple seconds, finishing the show. But I was kind of like, you know what? I'll watch it. So, I figured I'd give it a chance. I also got another show that I have not finished, Friends. Friends is similar to Seinfeld, and I want to see why people love Friends so much. Obviously I know a majority of the characters. Ross played Michael in The Wonder Years. I knew Jennifer Aniston from a couple movies, obviously. We're the Millers. It's kind of funny because at the end they play the Friends theme song. Lisa Kudrow. I used to think Lisa Kudrow was kind of hot. Back then she did. Maybe not now. And I knew Courtney Cox because I watched Scream. So I think all the girls were hot. And, obviously I knew the one guy, Joey from Ed. I know. A baseball movie. It was kind of corny, but I knew him from that movie. So, I decided to pick Friends. I can't tell you if I like Friends or not yet because I haven't seen all of them. I've only seen the Halloween and the Thanksgiving episodes. But I'm going to start watching Friends soon and get that done. But I decided to pick them and go from there. So we're going to go back to the other shows real quickly. What got me into The Simpsons? So what got me into The Simpsons? I don't know. I think One Day at the Beach, the very first Simpson episode I ever watched was season 1 with the therapy one where they go to Marvin Monroe. That was my very first Simpson episode. But the first one I watched when I became a fan was when Lisa had to babysit Bart. And that's what really began my Simpson days. I think my mom was kind of like, you can't watch The Simpsons. It's too violent, too bad. And then I just was like, you know what, I'm like 13, 14, I can do what I want now. I'm going to watch The Simpsons, and since then I fell in love with the show. And today, I love The Simpsons today. But I do agree with the fans. It should be over with. I always get mad when I'm like, Simpsons are coming out again. Like, come on. Like, stop the show already. It's been on so long. Like, no other cartoon's going to catch up to you. And I think The Simpsons want to do 1,000 episodes. I could see that happening, but I hope they end soon. I love the show. The show's always going to be one of the greatest shows of all time, but they should end. What got me into Full House? I don't know. I really don't know what my first Full House episode was, but I do remember my very first time I actually had when we're alone. Obviously, I don't want to go into detail. I'm sure everybody knows what I'm talking about, but first person that ever turned me on was Jodie Sweetin. I know a lot of people are like, but don't you like Danielle Harris? Yeah, I do love Danielle Harris. I wish she was my wife. But Jodie Sweetin was so hot. And I was kind of like, fuck, she's so hot. And that's what made me lose it. And it's kind of like, damn, like, Jodie Sweetin was so fucking hot. Like, I loved her. And I think that's what made me love Full House. And that's what made me want to watch Fuller House, is because I loved her. And I am very appreciative of watching Fuller House because that's what made me like Full House. And Jodie Sweetin, if it wasn't for you, I probably would hate Full House, but that's the reason why I love Full House is because of you, baby. So it's kind of corny. It's a woman, but I love her. Like, she's so hot. So that's what made me love Full House. And true. It is true. So, that's what made me love Full House. Family Matters. What made me love Family Matters? I don't know. I think I just watched it on. I think it was on maybe around the same time as Full House. I don't know, but I remember every Friday night they'd have a good TV show on, and Steve Urkel was always funny, and I was kind of like, Steve Urkel is funny. I like Carl too. Carl got me into it, and I was kind of like, The Neighbor, you know, I don't know. I think Steve Urkel really made me laugh, and I love Family Matters. It was the only show with black people I liked, and I'm like, you know what? You gotta pick a black family. You know, I don't want to be racist, so you know, I think it's cool. I got to pick a black family, and I liked Steve Urkel. He was funny. Everybody knows Steve Urkel, and made me laugh, and it made me love the show, and that's what made me get into the show. Roseanne. What made me love Roseanne? I don't know why. But one thing that always turned me on about women is women that are tomboys. And one of the girls I also had a thing for, I know she's a lesbian today. I wouldn't want her today. But back then, I don't know what I was thinking, but I had a huge crush on Darlene. Today I have a bigger crush on Becky than Darlene. I really didn't have a crush on Becky back then. I don't know why, because she's so cute. Lisa Goranson, by the way, I liked her. But I don't know why. I used to think Darlene was so hot back then. I used to think she was so cute. And I was kind of like, man, I like her. She's like a tomboy. And I don't know. I think that's what made me like tomboy girls. And I think that's why, you know, part of me is kind of like, I wish I could date like a Melody Martin type of girl. If anyone knows Melody Martin, she's a huge sports fan. She always is on YouTube. I'm like, I would like a girl like her, except her and I probably wouldn't get along. She loves the Bills, and I'm not a Bills fan. But I want a girl like that, but a girl who only likes hockey, you know. So, all right, before they go back into the show, I do want to ask you a quick question because you are talking about that. What made you become a Toronto and an Atlanta fan? So, okay, baseball. So, obviously I love the Sabres because they're here in Buffalo, and they're actually the only team that played in Buffalo. It's funny because I really don't like the Bisons. I don't hate the Bisons, but I really don't like the Bisons just because I really didn't like baseball. I don't know why. I just don't like the Bandits. I just never really got into lacrosse. I loved soccer. I love soccer. Like, I can't watch soccer that's like a 1-2-0 score like Brazil soccer. But I love soccer. I would love... If we had a Buffalo soccer team, I would totally go. I love soccer. And that's one of the reasons why I kind of got away from soccer is because I won't watch soccer where it's a 90-minute game. But I loved indoor soccer, and I love the Blizzard. I don't really like the Bandits. And I love the Sabres because I'd always go to the Sabre games, and they also play in Buffalo. And, to me, if you don't play in the city, I don't like the team. That's now my motto is. Bills don't play in Buffalo. They play in a stupid city called Orchard Park. So that's why I can't really root for them. So, but why I like Toronto and Atlanta is because back in the 90s, Toronto won the World Series when I started liking baseball, and they beat Atlanta. So I kind of felt bad for Atlanta. I was kind of like, I like Atlanta. Plus, I wanted to root for an NL team and an AL team, and that's, everyone liked the Yankees. I hated the Yankees. The Yankees are my least favorite baseball team. I hate the Yankees, and I don't really hate Boston, but I don't really like Boston either. Everyone either likes the Yankees or the Red Sox. That's what made me stop watching baseball. I'm like, fuck this. Everyone either likes the Yankees or Red Sox. I'm done. I'm like, there's no... It's not even fun for me. I'm like, unlike hockey and football, people actually root for multiple teams. Baseball, it's one of two teams. It's like, fuck that. It's kind of like if you were kind of like saying like, you can only like one of the two movies, either Star Wars or Harry Potter. It's like, there's more movies out there. It's like, nope, only Star Wars or Harry Potter though. It's like, there's more movies, so like, I love one of the two, but yeah, so, alright, sorry. Back into the TV shows. Seinfeld, what got you into Seinfeld? So, I don't know if I actually would have been a Seinfeld fan if I didn't watch this episode. The very, very, very first episode I ever watched from Seinfeld was the Lip Reader episode. I just mentioned the Seinfeld, or the Simpsons. My very, I don't remember the very first Married with Children episode I watched. The very first Friends episode I watched. Well, Friends was Halloween, but that's only because I had to do it, because, yeah. Married with Children, I think, was also Halloween, believe it or not. So I think those were the only two shows. But what got me into, Simpsons, I do remember my very first episode. Turtles, I don't remember what it was. It might have been when Splinter and Shredder switched. I don't know if that was my first one. But The Simpsons was, I did tell you, my first one was season 1 with Marvin Monroe. But my first one when I became a fan was when Lisa had to babysit Bart, and Bart got into an accident, he broke his arm, and it was kind of like funny. That was my first one when I became a fan. And I thought the episode was funny, so I watched it. I don't remember what my first Roseanne episode was, or Family Matters, or Batman. Batman, I do know. It was the very